You knew before you had proof, before anyone believed you. The knowing is when you stop doubting yourself. Savar hurt is what happens next when intuition becomes boundaries. Welcome home to self. This isn't a podcast for people who learned it in a book. This is for people who lived it. If you ever known something before you had proof, before anyone believed you, before it made sense, this wasn't anxiety. This wasn't overthinking. That was your knowing. And this right here is the knowing. People like to say, just trust your intuition, as if it's a switch to turn it off and on, as if it disappears because you weren't paying attention. But no one talks about what happens when your intuition is in condition or in direct conflict. Because intuition is quiet, a condition is loud. We're going to talk about conditioning versus intuition. Conditioning has a voice. It sounds like reasonable. It sounds mature. It sounds like knowing what it's doing. It say things like, be patient. Stop overreacting. You're probably reading into it too much. This is just how relationships are. At least it's not that bad. Intuition doesn't argue. It doesn't explain itself. It doesn't wait for permission. It just shows up as tension in your chest, a drop to your stomach, and a quiet no that doesn't need any language. Overriding became survival for most of us. If you weren't raised to survive, not to feel, you were learning at an early age that listening to your body wasn't safe. So you learn to override it. You learn to be logic. You learn to clean things up emotionally. You learn to stay regulated for everyone else, to make it okay. That's not intuition failing you. That's conditioning doing its job its best. The only way you was raised, and you know. How to tell the difference? Here's how you could tell the difference. Intuition is calm, even when it's firm. Condition feels like urgent, anxious, justifying. Intuition doesn't need permission. Condition always asks it, is it okay? Intuition tells the truth once. That's it. Condition repeats itself until you calmly answer. If you ever have the same inner conversation over and over again, that's not intuition. That's boundaries waiting to be honored. Most of us ignore our intuition, but it costs us. Most people don't ignore it because they don't hear it. They ignore it because listening would require change. And most people don't like change. Change costs you something every time. It might cost you a relationship. It might cost you your identity. Being seen as good, easy, or strong. And every time you choose conditioning over intuition, your body keeps a score. It messes up your nervous system. Fatigue, resentment, numbness, the sense of being disconnected from your own life. This episode isn't about blaming the past. It's about recognizing patterns. Because intuition doesn't come back through force. It comes back silent and subtle and through safety. So this week, just ask yourself, what do I know that I've been trained to explain away? You don't have to act yet. You don't have to decide anything. Just notice and pay attention to how your body reacts. Because the moment you stop gaslighting yourself, the knowing begins again. You'll be in tune with yourself. You will have the answer that you need. You didn't lose your intuition. You were just trained to override it. The knowing we explore trusting yourself can feel so hard, especially when intuition and conditioning are in conflict. This conversation is for anyone who learned to survive by being logic, regulated, and understanding, even when something is there and your body knows. This isn't about fixing yourself, it isn't about remembering what you already know. If this episode landed somewhere in your body, you're meant to process it alone. You're meant to sit with it, replay it, or join our space, having these conversations. No fixing, no performing, just truth.